The cameras flashed. The crowd froze. And just like that, Hollywood had a brand new obsession. Savannah Louie won Survivor. Then she found out what she really got.
Yeah, the ultimate reality check. It's wild.
Welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
Right, from red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
Exactly. And today, we are taking a massive deep dive into the hidden reality of winning big. You know, we always see the confetti fall and the giant novelty check, but what actually happens when the cameras stop rolling?
Oh, it is not what you think. I mean, we've got a whole stack of sources today to break this down. We pulled entertainment reporting from places like Primetimer and E! News, crossed it with a really deep financial breakdown from The Hustle, and capped it off with a massive corporate tax analysis from KPMG.
Which sounds heavy, but trust me, it is fascinating. The mission for today's deep dive is to uncover how, whether you're surviving on a deserted island or, wagering in a high-stakes casino, the government always gets its cut.
Always. Uncle Sam is undefeated.
He really is. So I want you to imagine this. You've just spent 26 days stranded on a scorching beach in Fiji.
Right, starving.
Literally starving. You've outwitted 17 other people, surviving on just a handful of rice, and like pure paranoia. And finally you hear your name called. You won $1 million.
Best feeling in the world, right? Your entire life is transformed in an instant. You're officially rich.
But that's just the TV edit. To understand how brutal the reality is, we have to talk about Savannah Louie. If you followed Survivor Season 49, you already know her.
Oh yeah, the former Atlanta news anchor. She took home sole survivor in that December 2025 finale.
And she just completely dominated the game, survived an all-women Final Three, won in a 5-2-1 vote, and tied a franchise record with 4 individual immunity wins.
She absolutely ran that season. But the part that really blew my mind isn't how she played, it's what happened after she won. Because the game itself, like the physical part on the island, was filmed during the summer.
Right.
The Savannah revealed she didn't get her money right away. She actually had to wait roughly 6 months until that finale broadcast aired in December before she saw a single dime of that prize.
Wait, are you serious? You win $1 million in July, but you can't touch it until almost Christmas.
Exactly. Production, literally holds the prize money hostage. And if you think about it, it makes perfect business sense for the network because of strict NDAs.
Oh, the non-disclosure agreements.
Right. The suspense of who wins is their entire product. If Savannah goes back home to Atlanta in August and just immediately buys a luxury sports car and a new house, the secret is completely out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the December finale would just lose all its ratings.
Exactly. So they delay the payout to enforce the silence.
The psychological whiplash of that must be completely surreal. I mean, you have this massive $1 million secret. You just conquered one of the hardest games on television, but you still have to fly back home, go back to your day job, and, live on your pre-show budget.
While your body is still recovering from starving for a month.
Right. You have to pretend to your coworkers that absolutely nothing changed. It's like winning the lottery, but being told you have to leave the winning ticket locked inside a time capsule for half a year.
That's a perfect way to describe it. But Savannah did note that the relief does eventually come. Literally less than 24 hours after that December finale broadcast finished airing on the East Coast, the $1 million was finally wired directly into her bank account.
Okay, so the wire hits. She checks her banking app, and there's a 1 followed by 6 zeros.
Yep.
But that relief only lasts a few seconds.
Right.
And that's not even the wildest part.
Yeah.
Because what happens next is just a total shock to the system. The IRS steps into the chat.
They absolutely do. Savannah actually did an interview on the Financial Flicks podcast recently, and she revealed that the moment that $1 million landed, it immediately shrank.
How much are we talking?
She had to pay approximately $380,000 in taxes right off the top. She actually described the experience as a punch to the gut.
I mean, I would be winded too.
Yeah.
380 grand, almost 40% of the prize you literally starved yourself for, is just gone.
Gone.
Why is the tax rate so aggressive on a game show prize?
Because the IRS, they don't view it as a friendly gift or a lucky break. To the federal government, that prize is just ordinary taxable income, plain and simple. You provided a service entertainment for CBS and you were compensated for it.
That is brutal.
It is. And what's really interesting is how wildly that final payout varies depending on your geography. Savannah is a Georgia resident, right?
Yeah.
So she paid federal and Georgia state taxes. But she pointed out that if she lived in a state with higher income tax rates, like California, the state would have taken an even larger slice of that pie.
So if you're costing for a game show, your zip code is practically a co-contestant at that point.
It really is. Now, if you want a masterclass in how much geography matters, contrast Savannah's experience with a Canadian winner. Like, look at season 42 winner Marianne Oketch.
Oh, yeah, I remember her.
Because of specific tax treaties between the U.S. and Canada, and just fundamentally how Canada views contest winnings, Marianne paid 0 taxes on her windfall.
Wait, 0? How does that even work? Why does the U.S. just take it before it crosses the border?
It comes down to how the two countries define the money. The U.S. taxes global income, but Canada generally doesn't tax lottery or game show windfalls because they aren't considered a consistent source of employment income.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so because of the tax treaty preventing double taxation on those specific types of earnings, Marianne was able to walk away with the full amount. And get this, because of the exchange rate at the time, her $1 million US dollars actually converted into roughly 1.29 million Canadian dollars.
Note to self, relocate to Toronto immediately. That is amazing for her. But obviously not everyone wins the million. Does the IRS still come after the people who just, made it halfway through the game?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone gets taxed because everyone gets paid. Survivor is actually known in the industry as one of the better paying shows.
Really? How much do the runners-up get?
The runner-up typically gets around $100,000. Third place gets somewhere between $75,000 and $85,000. And even the very first person voted off the island, the one who is barely there for 3 days and just unpacks their bag before going home, they walk away with about $2,500.
And you have to report every single penny of it.
Every penny. And if you don't report it, the consequences are very real. I mean, we just have to look back at the very first season for that.
Right. Richard Hatch, the ultimate cautionary tale.
Exactly. He won the very first season, took home the million, plus other appearance fees, totaling about $1.4 million. And he famously failed to pay taxes on it.
He tried to argue that the network was responsible for withholding the taxes, right?
Yeah, he thought CBS was supposed to take it out before paying him. But the courts did not buy it, and he spent 51 months in federal prison for tax evasion.
Which is a stark reminder. You do not mess with the IRS.
Never.
If you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed because we've got even crazier stories ahead. So, taxes take a massive bite. But there's another force eating away at this prize money. And unlike the IRS, it doesn't even send you a bill. It just quietly drains the value of the money year after year.
Oh, you're talking about inflation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's think about this through the lens of a grocery cart. If you took $1 million to the supermarket in the year 2000, when Survivor first premiered, the sheer volume of goods you could buy was staggering.
Right.
The sources note that the median U.S. household income back then was about $42,000. A median home was around $120,000, so $1 million was life-altering generational wealth for the average American.
But today, that grocery cart looks incredibly different. Based on the financial analysis from The Hustle, that same $1 million from the year 2000 is only worth about $519,000 in today's money.
Wow.
Yeah, it has lost nearly half its purchasing power. To give today's winner the exact same financial impact that Richard Hatch got in season 1, the network would need to be handing out a check for roughly $1.9 million.
But the prize has stayed exactly the same, $1 million. How does that compare to the rest of the reality TV industry? Are other shows adjusting for inflation?
Well, it depends on whether you're looking at legacy shows or the new kids on the block. Other legacy programs like The Amazing Race are still frozen at that $1 million mark. Celebrity Big Brother pays $100,000 appearance fee plus $250,000 if you win.
Okay, so the old guard is holding steady.
Yeah, but the landscape is starting to fracture because newer shows like Deal or No Deal Island or Beast Games, they're throwing around exponentially more money. They kind of have to, just to attract viewers who are becoming numb to the phrase $1 million.
Which is wild when you think about it.
Yeah.
But it makes it so critical for these legacy show winners to be incredibly smart with what they actually get to keep. I mean, when you realize that $1 million is really just $600,000 after taxes, and that $600,000 buys half of what it used to, You can't just go out and blow it on sports cars.
No, and the recent winners seem to acutely understand that. Savannah, for instance, she bought herself a Cartier watch, which she called her trophy, since the show doesn't physically give you one.
Oh, I love that.
Right. And she took a nice trip to Thailand, but then she immediately invested the rest.
And then there's Marianne O'Ketch, the Canadian winner. I was reading about her strategy, and it is brilliant.
It really is. She was actually terrified of ending up broke, so she hired a financial advisor right away. And when she decided to go to medical school, she made a fascinating choice. She had the cash to pay her tuition outright, but instead she chose to take out zero-interest federal student loans.
Wait, pause. She has over $1 million in cash sitting there, but she takes out a student loan. At first glance, that sounds entirely backward. Why go into debt when you have the cash?
Because she was utilizing a concept called interest rate arbitrage. It is so smart. If she paid cash for medical school, that money is just gone. But by taking out a federal loan that charges 0% interest, she could take her actual prize money and park it in high-yield savings accounts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or safe investments earning, say, 4 or 5% interest. So the government gave her free money for school, while her own money generated passive income. She essentially created a new salary out of thin air just by moving the math around.
That is next level smart. And looking back at classic winners, you see a lot of that same long-term thinking. Ethan Zahn co-founded the charity Grassroots Soccer. Yul Kwan and Parvati Shallow both directed funds toward philanthropic efforts. Tony Vlachos, who was the only person to win a multi-million-dollar prize by winning the game twice, he poured his earnings into real estate.
Right, they all recognize the fundamental truth. A reality TV payout is a massive head start, but unless it is heavily managed and invested, it is not necessarily never work again money.
Okay, I hear all of this, but if you're sitting at home right now, you might be rolling your eyes. Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
Even if inflation has eaten away half the value of the prize. Wait, let me rephrase that. Even with inflation, and even if the IRS takes 40% right off the top, taking home roughly $600,000 free and clear is still completely life-altering for the average person.
Oh, 100%.
If someone is struggling to pay their rent, 600 grand clears their debts, buys a house, and sets them up. Should we really be shedding a tear that reality stars need a raise?
That is a completely fair challenge. For the vast majority of people, an influx of $500,000 is absolutely transformative. You shouldn't feel sorry for them. But this reality TV dynamic exposes a much larger, more aggressive mechanism of how the government treats massive, sudden financial gains.
How so?
Well, Savannah's story proves the IRS takes a massive chunk of a clean win. But what happens when we look at people who try to make a living off high-stakes windfalls, where losing is actually part of the job?
You mean like professional gamblers?
Exactly. The government just changed the rules for them too, and the math has gone from aggressive to outright punishing. And this brings us to the corporate tax analysis from KPMG regarding a brand new law. Later in the deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming for the high rollers, actually. We're talking about it right now.
Right, the OBBB Act. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act passed on July 4, 2025.
Yes. Now, to look at this objectively, we have to understand the economic philosophy behind it, not just the politics. The KPMG report outlines that this was a massive 900-page bill.
Passed in a highly partisan environment, right? Just stating the facts here, it was a slim Republican majority and a tie-breaking vice presidential vote in the Senate.
Exactly. Congress wanted to implement a series of corporate tax cuts to stimulate certain sectors of the economy. But by doing that, they created a massive hole in the federal budget. They needed to find $1.1 billion over 8 years to offset those cuts and, balance the scales.
So they needed a piggy bank to raid.
Yeah.
And they looked at the gambling sector.
Precisely. They decided to extract that revenue by changing how professional gamblers are allowed to deduct their losses.
Okay, break this down for me. How did it used to work, and what is the new rule?
Historically, the tax code allowed gamblers to deduct their gambling losses up to the total amount of their gambling winnings. So if you win a lot, but you also lose a lot trying to get there, you only pay taxes on your actual real-world profit.
Makes sense.
But starting in 2026, the OBBB Act limits those deductions for wagering losses and related business expenses, like travel, to a maximum of 90%.
A 90% cap. Okay, I mean, on the surface, that sounds like a minor tweak, just 10% off the top. Why is the industry freaking out?
Because of how professional gambling actually works. To understand why this is devastating, you have to understand the professionals, the whales and the sharps.
Right, the guy's making a living doing this.
Yeah, a sharp isn't a casual player getting lucky at a slot machine. They use complex algorithms and data models to find tiny statistical advantages over the house. We are talking about an edge of maybe 1 or 2%.
So their profit margins are just razor thin.
Incredibly thin. Because the margin is so small, a sharp has to wager millions and millions of dollars over the course of a year just to make a standard middle-class salary. They might place $10 million in bets, win back $10.1 million, and live off that $100,000 difference.
Got it. So under the old rules, they deduct their $10 million in losses from their $10.1 million in wins, and they just pay standard income tax on the $100,000 they actually made. That makes total sense.
But under the new OBBB law, that math creates what tax professionals call a phantom income trap.
Phantom income.
Yeah, let's use a simpler example so we can really see the mechanics of this. Imagine a player goes to a casino. Over the course of the year, they win $100,000. But to get those winnings, they suffered losses of $110,000.
Okay, so in reality, their bank account is down by $10,000. They operated at a net loss. They just had a bad year.
Exactly. But under the new law, they can only deduct 90% of their losses against their winnings. So 90% of their $110,000 in losses is exactly $99,000.
Oh, wait, I see the trap.
Yes, they won $100,000. The law says it can only deduct $99,000. That leaves them with $1,000 of taxable phantom income.
That is wild.
Even though they actually lost $10,000 in the real world, the IRS looks at the paperwork, says congratulations on your $1,000 profit, and hands them a tax bill.
That is completely insane. That's like buying a defective $1,000 TV, taking it back to the store, and they tell you they're only refunding you $900, and they still make you pay sales tax on the $100 they refuse to give back. You are literally paying taxes on money you do not have.
It is a profound structural shift in tax liability. And when you scale that math back up to the sharps wagering tens of millions of dollars with those 1% margins, this fundamentally breaks their business model.
Because of the scale.
Right. Because of that 90% cap, they could easily owe more in federal taxes than their entire real-world net worth. It guarantees bankruptcy even if their betting algorithms are perfectly accurate.
But hold on. If you're a high net worth player and you know the math literally guarantees you will lose money in the regulated system even when you win, why would you keep playing there? Doesn't a law this punishing just force all of these people straight into illegal, unregulated black markets or those sketchy offshore crypto prediction markets where the IRS can't track the transactions?
That is the exact alarm being sounded by industry stakeholders right now. The KPMG report highlights significant, panicked objections from the casino and horse racing industries.
I bet.
They are warning Congress that this isn't going to generate the $1.1 billion the government is hoping for. Instead, they project massive declines in high-profile poker tournament attendance, huge drops in casino revenue, and yes, a massive exodus of high-dollar gamblers moving into the shadows to avoid this phantom income trap.
Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because it sounds like this is just going to escalate.
It's the ultimate unintended consequence, right? They tried to squeeze the golden goose and might end up suffocating it. Precisely. And it brings us full circle, really highlighting a fascinating parallel with our reality TV winners. In both cases, the headline number, the $1 million survivor check, or the massive casino jackpot, is just an illusion. The structural reality of taxation fundamentally alters the actual value of the win.
It really is the ultimate reality check. Whether you are starving on a beach in Fiji, living a double life while you wait for an NDA period to clear, or you're a mathematical genius running algorithms to beat the odds in Vegas, the ultimate victor is never the player. It's the tax code. Uncle Sam never gets voted off the island.
He certainly does not. He is the ultimate house, and the house always wins.
If you're sitting at home listening to this, it really leaves you with something to ponder. With reality TV prizes shrinking in real purchasing power due to decades of inflation and these aggressive new tax loopholes snapping shut on high-stakes games and gambling, are we approaching a tipping point?
It's a real question of mathematical viability.
Exactly. Could we see a near future where the financial risk, the physical toll, and the punishing tax burden of participating in these games simply outweighs the reward? Will networks and casinos be forced to completely reinvent the American dream they are selling to you, just to keep people willing to play the game?
It's a critical crossroads for the future of both the entertainment and the gaming industries. If the math doesn't work for the players, the game stops.
It really does. You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.